Hello friends of A Few Grey Hairs. Thank you very much for choosing to watch this video on ladies and men's hair replacements. We would like to bring to your attention that we have an app called Hairs with Love, and this app allows us now to be able to use hair for you of your exact texture, whether it be ethnic hair or European hair, whether you have red curly hair, any hair texture or color that you need, we can now provide you with. So please download the app on your phone, take a look at it. I've got it in the background here, and follow the prompts and see how now we're able to provide you with the hair that you need. So we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks. The following photographs illustrate some of the various wig types. For those of you who are further afield, you can browse our website. This will enable you to view our wigs and make your choice at your leisure. There are wig bases that are designed for a bald scalp. In this case, the material is designed to show through to the scalp. These provide the most natural hairline when hair is worn off the face. Then there are wigs that accommodate hair underneath the wig.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone for coming, all our clients and people that we haven't met before, thanks for coming, and all the lovely, lovely speakers that we've had to share and for us to learn things that we didn't know. Delia and I have tried very hard to listen to our clients and make the things that they need. And through listening to you, we've come up with different ideas, and I think it was Heather. Heather one day arrived here with this lovely long hair, and she walked in and she said, "I'm having my hair cut today for my sister. She's got cancer." And Delia cut her hair for her, and then we thought, right, now we're going to make something for her sister, which we hadn't actually done before. We can make wigs, but not from human hair straight away, and it's got to be cut properly. There's a whole long story about hair if it's been made incorrectly. So we made a lovely little hairpiece for Heather to give to her sister for her birthday, which was a great success. And then there's a very sick young girl right now who couldn't join us, same story. She came to us and I cut her long fine hair off, young girl, and we made a similar thing for her, and she's very happy. But she's not well today, I'm afraid, because of the, yeah. And then I met Paolo. Also, like Sue, she changed our lives, because she came in and she was so sickly, and I never saw Paolo with her hair, but she came to buy a wig. And we chatted, and she told me how much she loved her hair and she lost it. And so I found a wig for her, but a long hair is what she really wanted. But in long hair, human hair is the only way. You can't have long hair in acrylic hair. It just knots up, if anyone knows. So I said to Paolo, no, you've got to have human hair. So anyway, it turned out that Paolo did in the end have a synthetic little hairpiece, a wig that she's wearing now, which suited her fine. But the long hair she realized she couldn't have. And Paolo has been one of our clients since. And then one day, it's not too long a story, one day a lovely, lovely Marsha phoned Look Good Feel Better Margaret, and said to Margaret, I want to cut my hair. Now, Marsha has had the most, and still has, the most amazing hair. But she has long, 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 long hair. We've got pictures of her hair. Anyway, she told Margaret that she wanted to donate her hair to somebody who really needs it. Margaret knew about us, and so Marsha came to us with her husband. And I struggled to cut this hair because it was beautiful. It was like angel hair, Marsha. But as I was cutting it, I realized this hair Imasha wanted to give to somebody who really needed it. And I realized it was for Paulo. So we went about cutting her hair, and the very next day Delia phoned Paulo and said, "This is what we've got. Would you like to come and have a look at the hair, see if you like it?" And of course Paulo came in, and when she saw this hair, which is here, she started to cry, because it is beautiful hair. And as I can say, Marsha, who is here so you can see her, had hair past her bottom, and it was cut off and made into this for Paulo. So this is the story of Delia and my life. We make things for you which you need, and try to keep everybody happy. Paulo, want to give to her. Yes. She hasn't seen the finished thing. She actually came in and had it fitted. We've had it patented. And what's very special about this is that there's names for Paulo that are being woven into the hairpiece with her family and her name and all sorts of lovely things.
Hey, my little thing. That is from us, and here's Imasha.
And you can see what lovely hair. Imasha comes with her husband from Sri Lanka, and they've only been here for 2 months in South Africa, and this hair is unbelievable.
It was here.
I'm very happy.
So we had Mum cut that much off this beautiful young lady.
Okay, well, we just wanted you to meet the two people, the donor and the recipient.
Thank you very much, Carla.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
My cancer journey actually started just over 2 years ago, when my 5-year-old daughter was diagnosed with what I can now pronounce as a ganglioneuroblastoma. It was a tumor in her abdomen, and we were extremely lucky. She obviously had some guardian angels watching over her, and they managed to remove it all through surgery. But we still have to go for CT scans and sonars and tests, and I guess that's going to be a lifelong thing. 2 years later, my sister got diagnosed with breast cancer. It was already stage 3, and again it was panic stations, and you just go into a bit of a fight and flight mode. And as she was anticipating losing her hair, she cut it off. And on our first visit to the Donald Gordon, I found one of Delia's brochures and thought, geez, this is absolutely fantastic. We can just get a little fringe, and it looks so great. It's a fantastic idea. And I came to visit Delia, and then saw this gorgeous other wig sitting there, and thought, oh, I can't just do a fringe. I'm going to have to cut it all off and make it into a wig. And I actually wore it to her birthday party with a little hat on, and I'd wrapped the empty box, and she opened this thing and looked at me, you know, the silly sisterly things that happen, and I took the wig off and I gave it to her as her birthday present. And it's meant so much to me to be able to do something for her, aside from taking her for the chemo sessions. But you're powerless. There's nothing that you can do that's going to help them or make a difference. And for her to just have my hair, we don't call it the wig, it's the hair. I'm her hairer. And it's been now at the hairdresser, and you know, it's something that's personal, and it's meant a lot to us. And I'm quite passionate about getting Delia's product out there, and representing them on the east side, so that's for those of us that don't live so close, it's quite a trek out to London, that we can do some things. And I forgot to actually have a ponytail with me. I've already managed to source another ponytail, and just to try and get the word out there earlier that you don't have to cut your hair off, or if you're going to cut your hair off, cut it off, make it into your own wig, and it's something that can last forever and just make you feel a little bit better while you're going through what you are. And especially with my experience, if my little girl had lost her hair, she would have been devastated. And I think for mothers with daughters, sons not so much, they don't really seem to bother too much about what they look like, and my 9-year-old wouldn't give a hoot if she lost her hair, I think. But for them to be able to cut their hair and give it to their daughters, that just gives you something that you feel that you can do and make a difference. So thank you, Delia and Liz, for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We often get asked questions that we thought would be nice to share with you at an early stage of the journey of your hair loss caused from chemotherapy. One strand of hair carries a record of anyone's medical history. In the case of chemotherapy, the hair becomes resistant after just one treatment, and for this reason, if you are considering using your hair in the way of a fringe or in a section of the wig, let's say for example in the neck, or strip extensions, it is important that we cut your hair before chemotherapy commences. Hair doesn't have a lifespan, and it can be kept successfully in a dry, airtight container until we need it. As your hair starts to grow back after the chemotherapy, it's best not to cover the hair for as long as possible, especially until the hair is stronger and healthier. During the hair loss process, the scalp becomes very sensitive to the touch. This sensitivity can be expected during this hair loss period, and it's quite normal. Wearing your wig or any kind of hair cover will not interfere with the hair loss process, or, for that matter, its regrowth after the chemotherapy treatment. The shape of this little hair follicle exit hole determines the shape of the strand of hair, which then determines whether the hair is either straight or, for example, like this hair, curly. A round hair follicle produces round, straight, string-like hair, and then the more oval the hair follicle exit hole is, the more curly and wavy that hair becomes. Ethnic hair, for example, grows out of a very flat, slit-like hair follicle which produces a tight, frizzy hair. During the time that you receive chemotherapy, the hair follicle exit hole collapses slightly on itself, as there is no hair growing out of it to keep its shape. This is the reason that hair regrows slightly curly and rough in texture after the chemotherapy. This hair is otherwise known as chemocurl. Thicker, stronger hair grows out of a deeper, wider hair follicle, and thinner hair grows out of a more shallow, thinner hair follicle. But with time, all hair will regrow, and with support from us at A Few Grey Hairs, we can find hairstyles to help you manage your hair after chemotherapy.
And I truly value the relationship that we have is from Look Good, Feel Better, and me personally with Liz and Delia. And I just want to commend you today for what you are achieving. When I just see the passion with which you work and your whole dedication to just help others in a real time of need, really I think that is fantastic, and I can see why there's such synergy between what you're doing and what we're doing at Look Good, Feel Better. We were at a workshop, and Charmaine, who Delia mentioned a moment ago, met Delia and Liz and came back to the office and said, I've just met a fabulous couple of ladies, and I've invited them around to the office, and since then we've just been able to build this relationship of being able to make a difference. Look Good, Feel Better has been going in South Africa now for 11 years, but it's part of a huge global program. It was started 26 years ago in America, and currently it's offered in 26 countries across the globe. In essence, what we do is we receive product from the cosmetic industry, which we use as tools in workshops to help women and some men undergoing cancer treatment, to help them specifically with the appearance-related side effects of their treatment. Now I know from many of you, you know all about what I'm talking about. And it's just so important if we can help in some small way, just so that we can help women to just be able to face the day, to just have that confidence to be able to say, I'm going to carry on with this treatment. You know, I always say that if you haven't had cancer and been diagnosed as cancer, it's a word. But if you have, it's a world. And I know that many of you will identify with that. And it's not only a world for the person, but it's also very much a world for the families, because it does affect the whole family system and the friends and even at the workplace.
And just thanks to Liz and Delia for filling such a void in so many people's lives. And on behalf of everyone, thank you for hosting this morning. I think we don't realize that every little bit of difference we make in someone who's so vulnerable's life is just so huge. And how you actually, I think, got to know me was my patient Paolo. I was called to the Linksfield Clinic in April. Oh gosh, I don't know where the time's gone. April, to treat her. She had lymphedema in both of her legs. And when I walked in, I just felt this immediate connection with her. And I was, well, sorry, it's a little bit emotional. No, I just went through this journey with her, from seeing her so ill and so vulnerable. And there she was, having chemo and about to lose her hair, which for her was the most valuable, precious thing in her whole life. It was long, it was beautiful. And I just decided there and then that would be more integral in her journey, and I'm growing my hair for her. Because I said to her, I either shave my hair off with you, which I helped in the process of shaving her hair, or I grow it to be like yours that I can donate it. So I'm growing my hair. Paolo, thank you for changing my life. Okay, so after all that, I'm sorry? I'm a physio by profession and got incredibly bored with just treating these people that were coming in every day with, I suppose pain's all relative, but for me, after the journey I'd gone through, living with cancer in my family, losing my stepson was very dear to me, I decided that I have to give something back into life. And I decided to go to Australia and become a certified lymphedema therapist, and that's what I do now. I'm absolutely passionate about my work. I don't know if any of you are aware about lymphedema and what it is. Does anyone know that I can just get some? Yeah, like that way. Oh, okay. Does anyone know about lymphedema? If anyone can just put up their hands, that I can get some kind of idea where I've got to go, because I haven't prepared anything. A few of my patients. Okay, so what happens is, in your body, you have two circulatory systems, a lymphatic circulatory system and a blood circulatory system. And lymphedema pertains to the lymphatic drainage system. The function of the lymphatic drainage system is to circulate the fluid throughout your body, to remove toxins from the cells, and also to act as an alarm system for infection or spread of cancer. And that's where it pertains to all of you. So if you have a tumor somewhere, a little cell breaks off and sits in the tissues. Okay, so just put that at the back of your mind. I've got to be a little bit technical, so just tell me if you're losing me. The red blood capillaries in your body exude a fluid into the tissues, and that becomes lymph fluid, which is very high protein fluid, and it sits in your tissues. Just beneath your skin are little lymphatic vessels that are attached to the skin by means of anchoring filaments, and they absorb this lymph fluid. And I'll just use, for example, your arm. If you have the fluid is exuded into the tissues, and then what happens is the little lymphatic vessels join up to form bigger, thicker vessels, which drain the fluid to the nodes under your arm. Now, if you have, or from your breast into the nodes under your arm, if you have a little tumor in your breast and a cell breaks off, it's going to sit in those tissues, and the lymphatic vessels are going to absorb that cell and transport it, that delinquent cell, to the node under your arm. And that is why they remove, when you're assessed for breast cancer, one of the nodes under your arms to see if there's spread of cancer. Are you all with me? You're all okay? Now, what happens is when they remove that node, they disrupt the drainage system. So the fluid can't drain freely from your breast and your arm. I'm just using that as an example. So the fluid begins to sit in that area and you develop lymphedema. So if, for example, you have cervical cancer, that fluid from that area is going to be drained to the nodes in your groin, and they will irradiate or examine those nodes, and the system will become dysfunctional, the drainage system to your leg and your pelvis, and you have a chance of developing lymphedema in that area. What happens is normally the amount of fluid that's absorbed, that is seeps into the tissues, is absorbed, and there's a homeostasis, so there's a balance. But if anything should occur that disturbs that homeostasis, you develop edema, you develop swelling. And that is where I come in. I drain the fluid, because if that fluid sits in the tissue for a long time, it becomes infected, the area becomes swollen, it becomes very painful, it becomes very hard and uncomfortable, and that area is then rendered dysfunctional. Also, you start getting soft tissue changes, and that leads to infection. So you can develop cellulitis, and you can go as far as permanent skin changes, like I'm sure you're all familiar with elephantiasis. That is an extreme form of lymphedema. So we want to prevent that. And what we do is we drain the fluid. We teach you to drain the fluid, that you should not develop lymphedema. Sorry. The importance of the lymphatic system also is to keep your whole body clean and pure. So if you're having chemotherapy, for example, you've got all these toxins roaming around. So we want to get you to drain as much of this as possible and be able to excrete it. You're all with me? You're all okay? Okay. As you heard just now, lymphedema is not a curable condition, because the damage that occurs to the lymph drainage system when you have cancer is not, you cannot repair it. So if you have lymph nodes removed, you cannot put those lymph nodes back. Another huge risk factor for lymphedema is radiotherapy. I don't know how many of you have had radiotherapy, but what actually happens with radiotherapy is they aim the radiation into the area where the tumor was, and also the lymph nodes that are responsible for catching, for drainage of that area. And once you've had radiation, you are up to 70% likely to develop lymphedema. You might have lymphedema without realizing it. So you might have what we call a subclinical lymphedema. And then, so basically, what's produced is absorbed. What's produced is absorbed. There's a lovely homeostasis. But if you do anything to aggravate it, then you're going to develop a full-blown lymphedema. So, because it can't be cured, the most important thing for me to tell you today is how to manage it. The topic is so tremendous, so I've put in hours of speaking into just 10 minutes. So if I can just leave you with a message of how you can manage it. So all of you who have had surgery, who have had radiation, there are other risk factors. For example, if you're overweight, if you're prone to infection, any of you who have had any of those symptoms are at risk of a full-blown lymphedema. If you can just go home with a few things that I'm going to tell you how to manage it, then you've really achieved a lot. The first thing is you should avoid any extreme heat. Very hot baths, very hot showers, steam baths, saunas. Just keep yourself cool, because obviously the hotter you get, the more the circulation's revved up, the more lymph fluid is formed, and you can't drain it as efficiently, so you're prone to developing lymphedema. The other thing that can make it worse is any form of injury or insult or trauma to that area, because obviously when you have insult or injury, trauma to an area, you get an increase of circulation. So once again, you're going to be at risk of developing lymphedema. So for those of you who have had breast cancer, for example, on the side that you have had your surgery on, you should never ever have injections, blood to be taken, or drips on that arm. And that's very, very important. And if you're having chemo before your surgery, please always, if you don't have a port, remind the sisters giving you chemo to not use that affected side. If you unfortunately have bilateral breast cancer, so they're going to be working on both sides and you're so compromised, a port is usually inserted. I don't know if any of you have a port or know what a port is. Or if things are really bad and you don't have a port, which I'm sure they would at this stage insert, then they have to use your feet to take blood, etc. Not very nice, but I've only too often seen people developing lymphedema from just, once. You'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. If you're gardening, for example, wear gloves that you don't scratch yourself. If you're walking on the beach and you have a potential problem in your legs, wear shoes. Don't allow yourself to be cut by a shell. If you're out in the garden, wear shoes. If you've got a new pair of shoes that is tight, don't allow it to rub a blister that you should have some injury to the area. Okay, then the other thing that can make it worse is any form of infection, because your lymphatic drainage system is also part of your immune system. So your tonsils are actually lymph nodes. So if you do hurt yourself, make sure that you don't allow that area to become infected. Clean it with an alcohol swab and put some Bactroban on with a plaster until it's well healed. Don't stop putting the Bactroban on until the scab has come off, because beneath the scab is a raw area. I also tell all my patients that from your nasopharyngeal oral area, if you have any infection there, that bacteria very easily gets into your blood circulation. And if you have any area of compromise, you're going to develop, that bacteria is going to go straight there. So if you have any major dental work done, a tooth extraction, a nerve root canal, very deep cleaning, or if you have any sinusitis, ear infection, whatever, please ask your doctor to put you onto, if you're not allergic to it, prophylactic penicillin. It is absolutely vital. Okay? And the dentists are often a little bit reluctant, but they need to learn. Alright? Then the next thing that can cause it to be worse is any form of constriction, like if you have a problem in your arm following breast cancer, potential problem, don't wear tight jewelry, don't wear tight bras. The fitting of the bras is very important. I fit all my patients with the correct fitting bras, that they shouldn't dig into them, because how many of us are very upset to hear that we are 42D, we want to be a 34A. So the bra must fit you really very comfortably and not dig into you. If you have a potential problem in your legs, make sure that you don't ever wear knee highs or socks that grab you there, or shoes that are too tight, or panties that dig into you here, or too tight a waistband. Okay, often a lot of people, their lymphedema starts with a tight bracelet or a tight ring or a tight pair of shoes. It's just, don't get confused with the compression garments that we do put patients in, because that's a specific continuous graduated compression. Okay, the next thing that can perhaps make it worse is, I'm not going to say a poor diet, but a diet that involves too many natural diuretics like tea, coffee, alcohol, fizzy drinks. Have some. You can have a whiskey every night, but not 7 whiskeys on one night. So don't have more than 3 natural diuretic drinks a day. Keep a low salt diet, because you all know that salt retains fluid, and a low fat diet. Try and keep your weight down, because the fat deposits itself in the lymphatic vessels, blocks them, and then they obviously don't work so well. Okay? And low salt, low fat, and lots of water, at least 6 to 8 glasses of water. And I'm sure our nutritionist is going to maybe just say a few words on what makes you wee. So what gets the whole fluid system going well. We were actually chatting earlier on, if you do develop lymphedema, as a natural thing, the things that we tell our patients to drink is Cleaver's tea, as well as taking a natural product called rutin, and that facilitates better drainage within the circulatory system. Then 6 to 8 glasses of water. Then the next thing that can make it worse is travel. And we don't ever want any of our patients not to travel, because you really now Once you've been diagnosed and gone through this journey, you have to live life to the full. You need to travel, you need to see family, you need to explore the world, and as I say, go to the experience the university of life. So, when you travel, we teach you how to cope with it. We encourage you to drink a lot of water, to have a low salt, bland, low fat diet on your journey, to wear compression garments, even if you don't have a full-blown lymphatic problem. It is quite unbelievable how many patients have had referred to me because they've flown from London or they've driven from Cape Town. They never had a problem previously, and all of a sudden their clothes don't fit them on that limb. Okay, and to move around a lot, and just to drink a lot of water. So that's really just the basics, and I know I have a time constraint, I could carry on forever, but if you can just go home with a little bit of understanding of what lymphedema is, I just say anyone who's had a tumor of sorts, who's had treatment, has got a subclinical lymphedema, because your whole lymphatic drainage system is compromised. It's been damaged. It's not going to work so efficiently. And it is an underestimated circulatory system in your body. I'm around if anyone wants to ask any questions later. I have some Z folds which will give you a little bit more information on the condition. And I just wish you all good luck, good health, and good fortune in your journeys of life. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you a little bit more about, obviously, the nutritional side of things. I think it's so important for people to become educated in what they eat, what they take in. Unfortunately, we're never educated on this, when we're young or we're at school. Don't know what the reason for that is, but it's really important to educate ourselves, especially when we become sick, and I think also before you become sick. Prevention is always better than cure, definitely, and it's the father of natural medicine says, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, and there's a lot to say for that. When we look at the body in terms of supporting it with foods and nutrition, especially when it comes to cancer, there are certain things that the body cannot survive, the cancer can't survive with if you put it into the body. Basically, with cancer loves an environment, say for instance, which is deprived of oxygen. So it's important to have foods that's going to give the body the oxygen that it needs in the blood as well. And there are certain foods that actually do that. Beetroot gives you oxygen, and B12, foods that are really high in B12 like fish, eggs. I know eggs is a big no-no because people think that it raises cholesterol. It doesn't raise cholesterol, people. The egg yolk is highly alkaline. It contains a lot of B12, and B12 puts oxygen into your blood. As well as obviously the egg yolk breaking down cholesterol and not raising it. So yes, and then also a big one normally when I see clients, especially with cancer, as well as any other type of inflammation in the body, is you've got to get the body to an alkaline state or a neutral pH. Cancer loves acid, a highly acidic environment. So you want to make sure that you get the body to a beautiful non-inflammation state where it doesn't feed the cancer, and that's where juicing, say for instance, comes in, or smoothies. And you've also got to be careful about the way you obviously put together your juices. All your green vegetables are highly alkaline, and it also gives the body oxygen. Wheatgrass, kale, spinach, put that into juices. Green apples, green vegetables, broccoli, celery, and then also your juices contain, your raw juices contain natural enzymes, which the body needs. And the natural enzymes are basically, if you have raw juices and raw foods, the enzymes helps to self-digests in the body. So your body doesn't have to work, the stomach doesn't have to work so hard to actually digest the food, that you're taking in. Yes. please.
What is acidic food?
Acidic foods, I'm going to give all of you, well, there's about 40 lists of acid and alkaline food charts that I want to give out, so please grab one. Acid-forming foods are foods such as red meat, bread, wheat, couscous, pasta, what else? Dairy, yellow cheese, milk, cream, coffee, sugar, anything that is a processed sugar like chocolates and sweets, biscuits, that's all acidic. Honey is also acidic, but you can use honey, use raw honey when you use honey. Okay, make sure that it's organic as well. Alcohol is acidic, normal tea is acidic, tomato sauce, all your salt, you can use salt, but not normal salt. Use Himalayan salt, because Himalayan salt is highly alkaline, it's high in minerals, and it comes from the Himalayan mountains. But your normal salt is highly acidic, so don't use that at all. Okay. Alkaline foods are all your vegetables, especially the green ones. The greener the vegetables, the higher in alkalinity they are. Obviously things like beetroot, lemon, ginger, garlic. Yes, that's all alkaline. Okay, and then your rice is neutral. Another thing I want to mention is also oil. You know, when you cook with oil, everybody seems to think, or most people seem to think, that it's better to cook with olive oil or virgin olive oil. Don't, because that's an omega-6 and 9 oil. As soon as you cook with it, you're destroying that structure in the oil. And that then becomes a trans fat, so it becomes hydrogenated, and that is a cancer-forming fat. So the best oil to cook with is coconut oil, because it's stable, it doesn't change, the structure doesn't change, so it doesn't destroy in high heat. And it's also not going to make cholesterol worse. Doctors will often tell you coconut oil is gonna raise cholesterol. It doesn't, it breaks down cholesterol. Because from the minute that you take coconut oil in, it metabolizes immediately and it stimulates your thyroid gland, and yeah, it breaks down stubborn fats. Okay. And then obviously water, definitely good intake of water, not tap water. Tap water contains chlorine, fluoride, copper. Okay, it is toxic. Doesn't matter what anyone tells you. So make sure that you get a water source or obviously water from a trusted source. You know, whether it's water with reverse osmosis, or get a good purifier on your tap, definitely. Another big thing that I want to talk about is genetically modified organisms. And we're not educated on that at all. It's not labeled. When you go to the shop, you're not going to buy a product where it's going to be labeled contains genetically modified organisms. And genetically modified organisms are cancer forming. Okay? What it means, genetically modified organisms, is when they take the gene of a specific organism, such as maybe viruses, bacteria, or fish, which is quite common, and they inject that gene, which is foreign, they inject the gene into the DNA of another organism, which could be soy or corn or canola, which is one of the main foods that are genetically modified these days. The reason why they change the DNA structure is to make the plant become more resistant to herbicides. So they'll then spray it with things like Roundup Ready, which is like fertilizers and herbicides, to keep the crop beautiful and perfect. But in that, they're also poisoning us to a certain extent. And they've done tests in France, say for instance, where they fed rats genetically modified foods for 3 months, 3 times a day. And that's basically what most people do here. We eat foods from the supermarket, and most of it is genetically modified. And these rats, over a 3-month period, developed tumors, which were enormous. Now, the same thing is going to happen in our bodies. Our metabolism is a lot slower than those of rats. It's 50 times slower. But if we continue to eat genetically modified organisms, we are going to develop tumors in a space of 15 years. Okay, so it's really important to either start growing your own vegetables or ordering from organic farms. There are a few in South Africa or in Johannesburg. They do deliver, so that's really important. Or go to a market where you can find organic produce. Because that way it's almost like you're taking your control back. You know, and you're educating yourself on the nutrition that you actually take in. So yes, that's really important. And then, yes, another subject that I want to touch on is sprouts. Okay, we haven't been told much about sprouts when we, even study dietetics. But sprouts are an amazing source to get your nutrients, your enzymes. It's highly alkaline, and it's still alive when you're eating it. So start making that part of your daily intake, if I can put it that way. You can buy sprouts from Woolworths, say for instance, but it's a lot better when you start growing sprouts on your own, in your kitchen. It's easy. If you need any information on that, please feel free to ask. But yes, you can add it to salads, to vegetables. You can do mung bean sprouts, lentil sprouts, alfalfa sprouts. And because they're so highly alkaline, they still provide that environment inside the body that is not going to give the cancer a chance to either grow or spread. So that's really important. And then things like wheatgrass, you can start incorporating that. I met a lady a little bit earlier on, and she was saying that she goes, I think it's weekly. Okay, yes. And she goes and she gets herself a shot of wheatgrass. Now, wheatgrass is so highly alkaline, and it basically gives, again, the blood the oxygen that it needs. It makes the body alkaline. It just sets such a beautiful environment inside the body. Anything that is acid forming will cause inflammation. Anything that is alkaline will reduce inflammation in the body. And it's always important we can never really get to a point where the body is going to be completely alkaline, because there's stress, there's emotional stress. So that also makes the body slightly acidic. But the more alkaline foods we have, the more neutral we can start becoming. And that obviously doesn't feed the cancer. Okay, and sugars. I would say, to anyone that has cancer, don't have any sugar. You can do natural sugars like xylitol, maybe a bit of stevia, coconut nectar you could do, or coconut sugar in small amounts, but don't do processed sugars, not even brown sugar. Okay.
Our mission at A Few Grey Hairs is to help you with your hair loss in safe, intimate surroundings, with complete confidentiality and friendly, personal, professional assistance. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks for taking the time to watch this DVD. Goodbye.